oddities, and welcome to another design ranking video. Today we'll be covering the Netherrealm characters of the series. Not the Netherrealm Studios characters of the series, but the characters from the realm of the Nether. No, not the Nether from Minecraft. This means we'll be covering Shinnok, Serena, Kia, Jataka, Ashra, Moloch, and Draman. Let's get right into the rules for anyone who hasn't seen the previous videos. The first rule is that I will only be ranking designs from Mortal Kombat games, which means no comics, movies, or cartoons, or any other games these characters may have been a part of. The second rule is that I won't be ranking any repeated or reused designs, which means no recreated classic costumes from the later games, and no costumes that get recycled for multiple games. The third rule is for Mortal Kombat 11 only, which none of these characters are in, so skip. And the fourth and final rule is that there will be no Mortal Kombat mobile games, only console releases. So without further ado, we have 23 designs to cover today, so let's jump right in. Starting at the bottom with number 23 with Ashra's Union of Light design. This design honestly isn't that bad from the neck down. Incredibly generic, as a lot of MK1 alternates are, but really I just hate the hat. Instead of the traditional Ashra hat from Deception, which we never ended up getting in this game by the way, it's more of a Kung Lao looking hat, but the proportions are messed up with the top part of the hat being tiny while the rest of it is really big. It looks kind of goofy to me, and it just doesn't have the same aesthetic of the OG Ashra, which is a problem I have with her character in general from Mortal Kombat 1. At number 22, I have Kia's Mythologies design, aka her only design. Of the three Sisterhood of Shadow, she is the most generic design-wise. The best thing about it is honestly Carrie Ann Hoskins, who's famous for playing Sonya in MK3 as well. Before the design itself, her facial markings of the three Sisterhood are the most boring, with them basically just being Jason Voorhees chevrons. Her top is kind of interesting to look at with the gaps in it, and I don't just mean her cleavage. But other than that, it's just a hot goth chick, which Mortal Kombat has more than enough representation for elsewhere. At number 21, we're back to Mortal Kombat 1 with Ashra's Order of Darkness design. Like the Union of Light one, the design itself is pretty generic, but I do like it a little bit better. The black looks a little bit out of place, but I like the leggings that she's wearing. But obviously what puts this design much higher than the Union one is the hat, which is still far inferior to the OG hat, but it shares more similarities and is just much cooler. At number 20, I have the Samurai Shinnok from Mortal Kombat X. This might have been placed a little bit higher if the artwork for it wasn't so misleading. The art used for this design in the store is so much better than the final design that it's actually just a scam. Firstly, the colors. Holy MKX, how do you take a design that clearly had distinct and contrasting colors and just make it all a few shades away from being pitch black? Why was this needed? My other big issue is just how badly the mask fits on his head. It just looks so awkward and out of place, almost like it's too big but also too tight at the same time, which doesn't make any sense, but somehow they managed to pull it off. This design had a lot of potential to look pretty dope, but Mortal Kombat X. What more can I say? Yo, what's up? It's 2 a.m. editing oddity here. I realized I forgot the Conan skin for Ashra from Mortal Kombat 1. And honestly, I didn't even have to include this part because I literally have no thoughts on the design, but this is where I'd put it on the list, right after this Samurai Shinnok design. So yeah, this is where it goes. Peace. At number 19, I have Jataka from Mythologies, her only design on this list. I like this design more than Kia's, mostly because, and this will sound a little bit weird, but it's true, I just like how her markings and her hair contrast her darker skin tone. Think of it as the same appeal design-wise to a character like Storm from Marvel. The white hair, or just white in general, combined with a darker skin tone is just so eye-catching. Other than that though, it's mostly just another generic Sisterhood outfit, although I do like how much more red there is on this one. At number 18, I have Corrupted Shinnok from MKX. It's just Dark Khan with horns. That's all I really have to say, to be honest. Yo, what's up? 3 a.m. editing oddity here once again. I forgot another Ashra skin from Mortal Kombat 1. Can you tell I don't play the game and don't really care about it? It's the Festival Disguise skin. Quan Chi had one. I don't know how I missed Ashra's, but I did. And once again, I have no thoughts, but this is where it would go in the ranking. Peace. At number 17, I have Shinnok's Mythologies design. I will give this design this. It feels much more like a final boss, a fallen elder god, more so than the traditional Shinnok design. It just has more of that sort of aura with the flowing robe, the thicker head, hood thing, and the large amulet in the middle of his chest. But I like the other Shinnok designs higher on this list better as just designs in general. I think they just stand out more, and they're better designs for the fighter Shinnok, since this version of him isn't going to do flip kicks and insane combos, since this outfit just doesn't allow for that type of mobility. Plus, there's a design later on in this ranking that I think does this concept a bit better. At number 16, I have Moloch. Now, I will say I am biased. I love Draman and Moloch. Are they good characters? No, not one bit. But I just love their dynamic of being these buddies, these rascals who get into trouble in the Netherrealm. I don't actually think that's how they really are. It's just my headcanon. But I love them, and I will not stand for any slander. But I can only put a design like this for Moloch so high. It's literally the most generic monster design, complete with a ball and chain as his weapon. It has nothing that stands out really, not like the other monsters of MK, no forearms, no horse body, no small child riding his back. It's just a big monster. And I love it, but I can't put it that high. At number 15, I have Astra's Mortal Kombat 1 default design. This is definitely the best design Astra has in this game, and honestly, if they just gave her that classic hat, it would be so much higher, but for some reason they chose to get rid of the one most iconic part of her character. Literally the way most casuals described Astra for years was as the female Raiden because of the hat, but now they've gotten rid of that defining feature. Instead, she has these weird markings on her face and black eyes. I get what they're going for, trying to make her seem more demonic, but there were people who thought she was Devora in the reveal trailer. That's not a good thing. This is definitely a design that has not grown on me, but it's gone backwards, like the opposite, shrunk on me over time. At number 14, I have Draman's alternate design from Deadly Alliance. Again, I'm biased here, but I really do like this outfit more legitimately than Moloch. My biggest issue is obviously the lack of his most iconic feature, the mask, which takes away from its memorability, but I really like the rest of it. At number 13, I have Serina's default for Mortal Kombat 1. Now, Serina is absolute bae, my favorite female character and the only cameo I use in this game. But this design is just a downgrade. Just is. The sort of issue I have with turning the eyes of these human forms for these demons black is that it takes away from people viewing characters like Astra and Serina and being surprised to learn that they are demons, especially Astra. The human form is supposed to look human. I also have a problem with the colors of this design. The design itself is okay, pretty standard, but I really don't like the shade of red used, and especially the black, which on the outfit itself is sort of grayish, but not too bad. But for Serina's markings that she usually has on her face, they're not even black anymore, it's more brown. So instead, it looks more like scarring, which I know some people are gonna like, but I hate it. It nearly ruins the entire aesthetic for me. But it's still Serina, so I can't be too mad. At number 12, I have Shinnok from MK4. This is a decent design. Shinnok isn't really a character that stands out too much. It doesn't really feel like he has a solid inspiration, and it's sort of just a mishmash of random ideas, but this initial design for him was an okay foundation. This is the only Shinnok design to have sort of this skin-tight look to it. I'd be interested in that. This is the only Shinnok design to have sort of this skin-tight look to it, and I'd be interested in that aesthetic coming back. I don't know if it would look good, but I'm kind of interested in there being this sort of Elder God version of Shinnok with all the long robes and stuff, and then a fighter version of Shinnok that has a more breathable, slim outfit. At number 11, I have Serina's other outfit from Mortal Kombat 1, her Christmas design. Now, if you've seen all ninja designs ranked, then you know that I put Frost's Christmas design fairly high up in that ranking, purely because it was hot, and for this one, yeah, it's the exact same thing, just exactly the same. Just this one's better because Serina is literally the hottest Mortal Kombat character that there is. At number 10, I have Shinnok's default Mortal Kombat X design. A lot of people quite like this design from what I've heard, but ever since I was a kid a decade ago, I always disliked this outfit compared to his alternate that he wears at the beginning of the game. I think the main thing was always the head hood thing. This one is more exaggerated and devilish looking, and that just never really did it for me compared to the normal Shinnok head hood thing. And yes, that is what I'll be calling it for the rest of this video. At number 9, I have Armageddon's default Shinnok design. This is pretty much a modernized version of his MK4 design. You can see the placement of colors and elements of the design are all the same, but with just more detail. This one also makes the outfit more loose and and baggy, which I think makes more sense for an elder god to be wearing these types of royal clothing. I think this design also improves on the colors of the original Shinnok design. I think the shade of blue in particular is much better here. At number 8, I have Ashra's Deadly Alliance alternate. If you're gonna have a hatless Ashra, firstly, it should not be the default, which this game understands, and also, it should look like this. This brings me back to what I was talking about with Mortal Kombat 1. The best thing about Ashra's older designs was that it came as a shock to know she's actually a demon. When you first see her, you think she's a god or a Denian or something more virtuous, whereas in MK1, you don't really know what she is. She's ugly, that's what. This design is also much less baggy than the default and shows more skin, so it's good for people who like the more feminine appearance for Ashra, if that's what you're into. At number 7, I have Shinnok's alternate from MK Armageddon. This design is kind of an adaptation of the Mythologies design, but it merges it with some of the aesthetics of the Shinnok designs that have come since, so it still makes sense that Shinnok is fighting, kicking, doing crazy moves, while also still giving that Elder God look I was talking about earlier. I really love the big baggy sleeves, those always look cool, and this design was always the more memorable to me, and I wish it was the default since the actual default is good, but not as unique as this one. At number 6, my favorite Shinnok design is his Wrathful outfit from MKX. I don't know if it's just nostalgia since I really liked this design as a kid, and we saw it for the first time obviously when the first chapter of the game was shown, but I really just enjoy this one. I think it just feels more like a traditional Shinnok compared to the default, which had the sleeveless look they never really had before, plus the devil horn head hood thing, and I just like the simplicity of this one to take the OG design, modernize it massively for these new graphics, and just kind of leave it at that. Yep, this is what happens when you try to upload 3 videos in 1 week. Hi, this is 5 AM Editing Oddity here, with another costume that I have forgotten, and that is Serena's Mortal Kombat X design that she wears briefly in the story mode. Now, I do actually have things to say about this design. It's fairly good, hence why it's so high up on this list. Of course, I am a little bit biased because it's Serena, my favorite female character, but I like the red parts on the design. The red could be a little bit more saturated, but it's MKX, and this level of saturation is already like pushing it a bit for this game, so I'll accept it. I like the loincloth part, that looks pretty cool. I like the gaps, the thigh gaps, not for any weird reasons, just because I think it's aesthetic. I like the long armbands, those look pretty cool. I like that her markings aren't like how they are in MK1. I like that they're black and not like a weird brown color. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Good design, good job, NRS, Netherrealm. Pat yourselves on the back for this one. Now, if only she was in the actual game. At number 5, I have Dramon's default from Deadly Alliance. Again, Dramon and Moloch, I am biased, but I do genuinely love this one, and it's a big part as to why I like Dramon so much. And it's a very simple concept, just a smelly, skinless man with a club for a hand and a really cool demon mask. Sign me up, I'm on board. But this design just gives such a great base that there's so much you can do to take this idea further, while the base itself is still also good enough to work on its own as a concept. It's just a shame that no actual attempts have been made to build off of this, and according to Ed Boon, there probably never will. Pain. At number 4, I have Serena's Tournament Edition design. This design is fairly similar to her Mythologies one, just more revealing cause 3D MK, but I do like the increase in the amount of red, which looks really good. Also, something I noticed with Serena while making this video, why is the white streak in her hair sometimes on the left and sometimes on the right? That has just been super distracting me while looking through these designs. Just commit to one side of her face, please. At number 3, I have Ashra's Deadly Alliance default. This is an obvious pick as Ashra's best design, and it would just be ridiculous to have anything else here. The large flowing hat creates a great visual and silhouette for Ashra, and that color combo of gold and white, once again, it doesn't scream demon at all, which I just love. This design is also a great change of pace compared to other female character designs in the 3D era, which are all super revealing and sexualized, and those designs have their place, but it's just nice to have something and a character that doesn't follow that exact same mold. At number 2, I have Serena's base Armageddon design. At first, I didn't even realize this was a different design to the Tournament Edition one, but it is, and I like this one a little bit better. It is pretty similar, going for the same general aesthetic, but with minor additions. It's actually less revealing than the Tournament Edition one, which is like crazy for 3D era MK, but still shows quite a bit. I really like the waist section with the loincloth and this sort of belt thing she has. It looks really great, and her top is now laced up rather than being completely open in the Tournament Edition one, which I also think looks better and reminds me more of her OG design from Mythologies. And speaking of which, at number 1, I have Serena's Mythologies design. Listen, am I simping right now? Yes. Yes, I am. But I do legitimately like the design. The mix of red and black and the markings and the white streak in her hair, all of it combines for a really memorable and striking design. But just look at her. Come on, how could you not simp for Serena? Hell, Bihan did, and if an absolute Chad like him is allowed to fall for her, then so am I don't care. Best design out of all the female characters, one of the best MK designs in general. Would I think so if she wasn't so attractive? I guess we'll never know. You guys let me know in the comments down below which designs you liked best from this list, and while you're down there, make sure to check out the links in the description to my merch store, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, make sure to give this video a like to show your support, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to know when I next upload a new video. And with that being said, that's it for this video, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.